Okay, so welcome, Billy and Jayne. I'm so delighted to have you here. I would have dearly loved to have had you here in person, but it's been so wonderful to just work with you leading up to this and to have you be involved. So just let me get a few little things out the way. So whereabouts do you live?
At the moment, we're living in Bentham because Billy is doing a barn build, which you might have seen on his social media.
Yes, that's Lancashire, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And how long have you been home educating?
I started when he was 11 years old, and he was officially taken off the register when he was 12, so I home educated him whilst he was at school. He had a lot of time off school.
Okay, so would you like to tell us a little bit about what led to that decision to take him out of school?
I was forced to home educate him because he was severely bullied at school, and the head of school didn't support in any way, shape or form. And Billy was starting to actually get blamed because he was bullied by a group of children with one ringleader. And what the head of school was doing was getting statements from more people and just using the amount of statements she got. Billy was obviously on his own, and Billy was starting to get the blame, and he wasn't getting any support, so it was just getting worse and worse. So I had to take him out of school due to bullying. That's why I started home educating him.
So Billy, can you perhaps just tell us a little bit about how that was for you at that time?
Well, not the most pleasant experience. It was, just pretty much endless. It got quite, from obviously starting off picking to points. I was stabbed with a pen on the bus in my leg. Then obviously I got into fights back, and then I get in trouble basically for retaliating, and the person that actually stabbed me in the leg with a pen didn't get any, not even a word or anything. So it was always like not only the pupils sort of picking on me, it was teachers as well, because basically the background I come from, I sooner, pretty much after school, I was straight to like a garage, so I was always getting slightly mucky, and I just hated school. That was it. As soon as I could get out, that was it. I was gone to the garage, so it wasn't
okay. Yeah. We're just getting some comments that the sound isn't too great. Do you think you could possibly just both move a little closer to wherever the microphone is in your laptop? I think that'll help. I think it's probably just the mic is a bit far away. Okay, so we'll see if that's any better. Okay. So, and even if you lean forward a bit, it'll help. So, Jayne, when you first took Billy out of school, what did you do? Obviously, this was something you hadn't planned, and you had to come up with something quickly. How did you do? What did you decide to do?
He was very traumatised, and it was a shock for myself. It got so eventually I couldn't physically get him on the bus to go, and I wouldn't have done that, but we had the school where even as far as ringing the police, they rang social services, and they were doing anything to demand that I get him back into school. And so it was a very scary process, wasn't it? So I was pretty terrified. Obviously, Billy was younger and didn't have the understanding of what they could do, the authorities. So it was just a break at first, and I didn't do anything. I just gave him a complete break to clear his head, and I let him start basically asking what he wanted to do. And he was very soon, he was asking what he was going, and he was leading his education, and I went with him first of all. And that's how it started, really. He led his education, and then we had discussions of things that I wanted him to do. Obviously, he wasn't interested in his English, he wasn't interested in his maths, he was interested in his carpentry and his mechanics and the sort of things he wanted to do. So we just had an agreement, didn't we? If you do this for me, and then I'll do this for you, and that's how we started. So he did his English and his maths to GCSE level. He actually did City and Guilds, but he did it at the same level as GCSE, didn't he? So
okay. Yeah, so you didn't really start out with any kind of formal approach. You kind of you followed Billy's lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, Billy, that must have been kind of a bit strange, suddenly you being, you're now in charge. Perhaps you want to tell us how you kind of dealt with that, because, did you know you were interested in woodwork right away? How did that come about? So I'm going to ask you to lean forward when you speak as well.
Yeah, I don't think it was, it's not wasn't so much a woodwork to start off with. I pretty much just like making anything, or just hands-on, more than being sat in a classroom basically. So it was just whatever I could do, and it sort of started like say Mum wanting a garden bench doing or something like that, and it was just happened to be that there was a lot more colourful woodwork stuff to start off with, so that's where I sort of...
And show jumps, we had the horses at the time, so you were making show jumps, weren't you?
Yeah, that was another thing, and then got contracts from like riding schools and stuff like that to do like 20 or 30 show jumps for horses. Which
when you were 11, didn't you?
Yeah.
When you were 11, you were doing show jumps for horses.
Walls, weren't you, for them, and all sorts. Wooden walls for them. But in different blocks so they can make different heights for the horses.
It was.
And you were doing all that, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much the wall. Well, they were like almost going up to 8 foot. So me being only small at the time, it was something else.
And how old were you? So you did your woodworking and the other courses that you did, was that through a college?
Yeah, I did mainly a carpentry course, and then there was, because first of all we did a multi-skills, so there was bricklaying, plumbing, carpentry, and various other options that you could do. They were the ones I picked, so I got my plumbing, my bricklaying level 2, and then went on, and then they couldn't run a level 3 for carpentry because there was only me on it, because it started off, first of all, I think there was 30 odd students in my class on level 1. By the end of it, it had gone down to like 10, and then they were starting obviously the next year level 2 with like 10 students, and then that got down, and people were dropping out like with a month to go. So I think there was only 4 of us finished level 2, which then another couple didn't want to do level 3, so it was pointless starting another course.
Yes.
Right.
And how old were you when you did those courses?
I started college when I was 14, wasn't it? Yeah.
14?
14, yeah.
Wow. And then were you doing your English and maths at the same time?
Yeah,
I was going, and majority of the students were quite older. There was, I think, 30-odd-year-olds on my course, so it was me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, so you are part of a guild. What is the name of the guild that you're...
Institute of Carpenters.
Carpenters, and you've had some recognition and awards through them?
Yeah, he's licentiate of the Institute of Carpenters, which is the youngest one to be offered it when you were 17. And they do a grading system for people like Billy that are home educated, so that if they haven't gone to college or university, they can put their skills onto a level, and it's a recognised qualification. And he's at the same level as degree level when he was 17 for carpentry.
Oh, so really? That's really good.
Normal system of going to university or further education, or there wasn't a course for Billy to go further, that grades him, so he's at degree level in carpentry through the Institute of Carpenters. And that was brilliant because they do an exam, that's the one that a competition, and that's the one that he won, and the skill builds one as well, so they can show for people that maybe not have the qualifications, can show they're just as good as people that have got the qualifications through the competitions.
Now, Jayne, I want to know, how did you figure this all out? Because most parents wouldn't think to put their kid on a carpentry course at the age of 14, So, did you have people to help you, or advising you? What did you do as a mother when you were faced with the son who had these abilities and you wanted to help him? Can you talk us through those?
Well, the school, as I say, weren't helpful, and they contacted social services, which was obviously most people would be frightened about, and I know you hear horror stories, but we can't complain at all. They're absolutely brilliant. And they said that I just sat in front of a computer and wasn't doing anything, so we had to go to a meeting, didn't we? And Billy, I think you were 12 years old, told the social worker how the day before he'd stripped an engine down, mended it and started running it. And she says, oh, I think I've not been told the truth here. She says, you're obviously not sat in front of a computer, are you? So I said no. And they were brilliant with us. And we got a home education lady support worker from the council, and we can't fault her. You know, they gave us all support. They sent us links to things. We went to meetings with other home educating parents, didn't we? And there's so much on the internet, you know, just looking for stuff that free courses and everything to, you know, learn from. And it was Helen, our support worker, that suggested the college to go there, and the difference was just absolutely unbelievable. Just treat like a human being, just listened to, respected. And obviously Billy went with a lot of problems from school and how he'd been treated. And there was just one incident. It was a silly incident between two of the students, one being Billy. And I immediately Billy came back and told me and said, basically got his story in first, as a kid would, because he thought he was going to get really told off. And so I rang his tutor straight away and I said, why didn't you tell me? You know, in a panic, because I'd been so used to the school system. And he says, tell you about what? I said, the incident with Billy and you know, this other child. And he said, why would I? And I said, because he's done this. And he says, yeah. And he says, and we've sorted it. He says, you didn't need to be involved. And I just thought, no, I don't. That's your job, you know. But I've been so used to school ringing me, what are you going to do about him? His behaviour's so bad. Immediately, as soon as there'd been a tiny incident, I was heightened, you know, when I just rang up and had a panic attack, and the tutor goes, we've sorted it, you know, don't panic. Yeah. And it was just a totally different system, and it was just the college, I couldn't fault it. From being at the school where I was sometimes getting called in 3 times a week and telling me this child was just such a delinquent and was going to be neat status by the time he was 16, to going to the college and just getting these superb reports, and then him getting distinctions and putting 3 years training into 2 years. He'd qualified carpenter by the time he was 16. Even when he went in at 14, it was supposed to be 17. And award after award coming from the college because of his behaviour, helping other students, teaching other students. So it was just, it wasn't him. It was the system. It was, you know, get one bad teacher and you've got a real problem, because a child can't stick up for themselves at school. They haven't got the maturity or the mental capability to do it, and the parent can't, because they're threatened with, like I was, from social services to police.
It's really interesting because I look at Billy, I follow Billy on Instagram, and I've seen, you know, how he's such a family-oriented, positive young man, and you know, I don't recognize him as this delinquent. You know, you say the school service.
I can honestly say I haven't had one day's problem with him from the day he was born. It's been outside interference from somebody else that's caused the problems. But since the day I took him out of school, I've had no issues with him, not even growing up as a, you know, obviously teenagers do things and that, but I can't say how. And he's been, you know, wonderful, so just stay like that. Don't do anything.
I actually want Billy to tell everybody about, well, actually, before we go on, let's talk a little bit about your camper conversion. So you did a camper conversion, and so what happened from then? Because you've kind of been thrown into the spotlight from that time, really, haven't you? So if you want to talk us a little bit through that part of your story.
Yeah, pretty much it started basically at the time we was sort of living on a campsite and obviously seeing loads of different campers come on and everything, and it's something I wanted to do, seeing people doing horse box conversions. So that's basically we had a horse box that we was using at the time, so we went out and bought another of the same vehicle, the Volkswagen LTs, and I've started to sort of do a lot more with them, and basically can't think, yeah, it was 14 that I got that, and basically rebuilt the engine. That was the first thing. Then we resprayed it. I did all the prep prep work and everything. So sanding it down and priming it, and then actually stripping out the interior, which was obviously a horse box, so covered in horse pee and everything, which was very nice. Yeah, and then relining it and just doing all stuff like that, YouTube tutorials and stuff like that, and pretty much, yeah, that's what took me on. Obviously, once I built it, it was in the Craven Herald, I think.
No,
Lancaster Guardian. Yeah, makes no difference to me. But yeah, pretty much once it was in, then from George Clark, the production company, contacted and said, "Are you doing anything else?" basically, and then I decided I wanted something a bit bigger, and that's what took us onto the boat.
We'd already got the boat, and they just happened to ring, didn't they, at the same time that you were starting it. All that happened was we had to wait then once they had the interest, so we were going to start it, weren't we, with the production and everything that they have to do. We had to wait a few months before we started for them, didn't we?
That was actually quite a hard thing, having the boat ready to sort of strip out.
They couldn't touch it.
Just couldn't touch it. So yeah, itching to get started and having to wait months.
I wonder, how old were you when you were doing the camper conversion?
You finished that when you were 15,
yeah,
didn't you?
Yeah, before my...
Yeah. And when you started the narrowboat?
17.
Yeah.
17. And so then you were part of George Clark's Amazing Spaces. That's Channel 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Channel 4. And that's actually a lovely... a really lovely episode. If anyone wants to go back and watch that and see Billy at work remodeling a narrowboat, doing a lot of hard work there. It's really lovely to watch. So I'm actually trying to think what else we actually ask you, because to me it seems almost like you didn't do any home education at all, Jayne. Like it just, you know what I mean? It's like it sounds like it just happened. Do you know what I mean? It's
just the balance that he do the boring stuff. I do the boring stuff with him. That he found boring, like I say, the English and maths, but it's amazing how he'll do something and it leads on to something else. So he'd be looking at something on the internet and it'd say some part of history and he'd look into that. He's very, very, very interested in the World War I, World War II and things like that. And then it comes into the psychology of how the League has manipulated people. So he's looked into psychology and things like that. So he led his own education, because he'd say, well, why don't we look at this? And I'd say, well, we could look at that as well. It'd say, then it goes into, you go into the world wars, you go into geography of where it happened and everything. So he learned about geography that way. And so I just guided him, really. And the carpentry and the mechanics, I don't have to push him, because I have to stop him. I have to go in there some nights at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and say, come on, you've got to get some sleep, because he loves it that much. So there's never been, and I'm not very good at carpentry at all, so I couldn't really teach him that. But as I say, the mixture of the home education for us, the few years of home education, the mixture of the college, and it was home education with that as well, because they worked together. So the tutor rang me up and he said, I can't get him interested in health and safety, he won't do it. And he says, and he's got distinctions everywhere else, and he's so brilliant with his practical. He says, Jayne, he's going to fail if what do I do? So I said, right. I said, get him back. I said, I'll sort him out. So we did the health and safety, didn't we, together at home, and sent that back in, and he got a distinction in his health and safety. So that's all, praise to the college, because instead of that tutor saying, well, I'm trained, I can do it, he said, I can't do it. So I said, well, I'll do it, and we worked together, and got him through with a distinction for his carpentry. And that was a tutor, being a good tutor, wasn't it, basically? It was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, do you know what I hear coming from all of this, these interactions, is what made the difference is respect. That's what it sounds like, is that you've got a respectful relationship between you and Billy.
Yeah.
So you're respecting him as a person, as a young man, and giving him that freedom. But you're also challenging him as an adult. Almost as an adult, you're leveling with him and saying, "Look, you know what? Yes, you want to do this, but the world actually also works like that. So you're going to have to."
Pros and the cons, rather than saying no, you just turn around and say, "Well, you go ahead and do that, but this is what's going to happen if you do," or have you thought of this, and just letting them think for themselves. And I never thought of that. And like I said to him, I said, yeah, do your carpentry, do your mechanics, that's absolutely brilliant, but you've still got to have a basic skill in English and maths, and otherwise these are the cons if you don't do it. So once they understand, once they learn, think, oh, well, I don't want that really, they'll do it, to the level they want to do. But there's no point pushing Billy to try and get him a degree in English or maths or A level, because he's never going to do it. It's just going to stop him, put a block there, because that's not his interest. But telling him why he needs a basic level of that, for everything is, then they go, oh yeah, well I need to do that then, to get on in life. And so it was just working it out together rather than forcing him to do something that clearly isn't his forte.
Yes, it does make a big difference, doesn't it, Billy, if you understand why?
Yeah.
It just because that's the way the world works, and nobody wants to learn something if there's no purpose to it.
No.
Needs to be a purpose. So I think we've covered quite a lot of the home education side of things, and the respectful relationship that you've had. Billy, you've had to take ownership of your education, but you've really been so good at tapping into who you are and what your interests are, and your mum giving you the freedom to pursue you, not stopping you, which I think is just an amazing relationship that you have. I want you to tell everyone a little bit of some of the things that you're doing now, because and so how old are you right now?
I'm 19 now.
Okay, so he's 19. So Billy's going to tell us some of the other things he's up to. He really does have a hand in all sorts, so go for it.
Yeah. Where do you want me to start?
Well, you made things you're doing the barn, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm doing the barn conversion at the moment, which pretty much I've had to take all 4 walls pretty much to the ground. There's about a maybe 6 foot by 8 foot section that has been left, and that's about it, out of a 40 odd foot long house. So the whole lot, and the walls like nearly 2 foot thick, which I've had to rebuild the whole lot. I'm halfway through re-roofing it at the moment, which I've made all myself, all the roofing, and then I'll finish off. There's an electrician, if I can say it properly, electrician that's going to basically, if I take pictures as I go through doing all the electrics, then he can sign me off on that and say, basically sign the electrics off, all the plumbing and everything I can do, obviously. So the whole lot, start to finish, is going to be all my work. So that's, yeah.
And you're doing it's doing it reclaimed and recycled, so we haven't even had a skip, have we? Even though it was a complete build, there was only 1 stone left at the bottom on the front, wasn't there, on the front corner. We just went from one stone. And that we haven't even had a skip. We've had recycled everything, and everything, apart from obviously bags of cement, which we can't do, but everything else is reclaimed. It's going to have you're just mending the 90, which you can see on his Instagram channel. He's just mending the 1952 washing machine that he's had given. His fridge is vintage. You're mending that, aren't you? So the Raven is vintage, and you're building that, aren't you? So everything is going to be like the joists and everything have all come off other builds.
All
the window lintels, everything, hasn't it?
All the rafters, actual floor joists from another build, so they're probably, be about minimum 300-year-old floor joists, which I'm pretty much putting into rafters. So cutting them all down and making, the full roof. I've got big oak beams, so there's 3 of them that go the full width of the house. The
lintels in the window were from the boat that he pulled out for the ballast that the man had put in. So they've come from the lintels have come from the boat. The joists are going to be used for the window frames, the ones, because the joists that went along were rotted on one end. It had been flooding in, hadn't it? So they're not good enough to use for the barn now, they're not long enough, but there's still 12 foot of good wood, so they're going to be put into the windows and the doors.
Yeah.
So we're using, I think we could get away probably with new stuff about 5% of the whole build. And that's what he's wanting to do, is do the whole of it, isn't it? Out recycled.
That's really good.
Well, that's what he's done on doing his carpentry.
Yes.
I've always had a love for vintage. My dad was an antique dealer, and so it's gone through, and now he loves the vintage side. So that's another learning curve that he's learning about, about age of different things, and Georgian and Victorian era and all that sort of stuff with antiques. So he's learning that now as well. And I think that's the other thing as well. There's no limit. We sort of like cut off, they've got to learn this by that age and learn this by that age. But Billy's still enjoying learning going on. And
yes, well, it's lifelong, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no cut-off point. It's just spread out over a longer period is his learning. I didn't say, right, you've got to 18, so it's finished, or 19. He's just carrying it on.
Yes, and the barn conversion, who's that going to be for? Wow, I think most of the mums on here want a son who's going to build something lovely for their mum. I think that'd be awesome. And the other thing is that I noticed that you love your cars as well.
Yeah, I love my rallying is one of the main things as well. Which is not so much at the moment, but as soon as I can get back out, itching to get out. So I'm doing another. Basically, when I got the car, it was a standard 1 litre. I've put a 1.4 engine in, and that was the first conversion I did. And now I'm going on to get an engine out of a completely different car, and basically put a 1.6 in. And widen it, so it'll be quite a heavily modified car by the end of it, which is all more joinery work to pay for it.
And we've got our 2 sponsors as well. Can I quickly put that in www.soulboatfestival.org and Safe Scaffolding Services from Morecambe and Lancaster. Our sponsors. Brilliant.
So your interests are basically the building, the plumbing, the carpentry, and our mechanics as well? Yeah,
making stuff and racing stuff is pretty much my main hobbies. That's anything I can just sort of do wagons as well. I like wagons. I've done various builds, and I'm on with restoring one at the moment, and put a completely different engine in that as well. So I've gone 3 times bigger. Understand.
And I want to just bring in Matilda as well. So you have a daughter, she's 11 now, right? 12. And you're home educating her now as well. Yeah. And how's that going?
Oh, really well. She's volunteering at the local pet shop now. So she's learning how to run a business. She does all the pricing, and when the deliveries come in, and she does booking in for dog grooming. So she's learning all that side. She's very interested in languages. She's totally dyslexic. So she really, really struggles reading, but I read to her every single night, which she loves. But the funny thing was, I was speaking to somebody that works with children, and they said often when they've had a block, because she did go to primary school and they pushed her with a dyslexia and her reading, and she got bullied by one of the children in the class because she was so far behind on her reading. Is that often they get a mental block with one language, try another one. So we tried French, and she can actually recognise now more words in French than she can in English. She can recognise about 100 words in French, and she can read small sentences. So it is funnily enough, she's that listening to that could be another thing that's actually a mental block in her, because she's been so afraid of English that we're now trying another language, which is working. And again, not pushing the English, she's now in a shop which she's enjoying, and she's learning, picking up small words. So I think it'll just come naturally rather than forcing her to read. And she's getting so many other skills, like she likes art, dancing, gymnastics, all sorts of stuff like that. So she's in dance class and gymnastic classes.
Well done, Jayne. You're an awesome mum, really. I hope your children appreciate you. You've got a lot of wisdom. Now, I want you to quickly talk about your book, Jayne, because we need to give your book a little push.
I just started as a diary, really. When he was doing the build, I didn't want to forget about anything.
So that was on the boat, right? The build on the boat, yes.
Yeah, sorry, on the boat build, yes. And I didn't have the level of command of the English language to write a book at all. And somebody said putting it into a book. So I looked at proofreaders, and from what I saw, it was very, very, very expensive, and just thought it was a no-no. And then my friend turned around and said, "Oh, but why didn't you ask my wife?" And I said, "Why could you do that?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, definitely." And she did it for me. And so that was brilliant. So we worked together on it. And went down there wrote it all out, got it all done, went down there for about 2 weeks every other night and got it done. And it's only small, it's only 25,000 words, which isn't big. And even that, it was quite a challenge. So yeah, it's not easy. It's amazing how you're writing a bit, and then about 2 days, you must keep on with it, because you go back about a week later and kind of write and think, oh no, I've written about that. And it's amazing how, well, I did forget. So if it's something you're going to do, it's something you need to keep chipping at, make a commitment to it, and that's what I had to do in the end. But
yes.
Yeah.
And what is the name of your book?
Matilda Jayne, and it's on Amazon. So you just type in Matilda Jayne.
Do you have a copy anywhere in the room near you? You can wave at us.
It's on his website though, www.billyarthurwalden.com. Matilda Jayne, it's on
Actually,
there.
yeah, I can put that on your speakers on the bio so that people can go and have a look as well.
So a lot of people download it just on Amazon onto the Kindle.
Yes, so I will put a link on your bio. So what?
With another anyway. So.
Yeah, I'm doing another.
Yeah, she's got plenty more builds to write about.
Yes. Well, the thing is, you're all learning together, and it's amazing that once you start on that journey of lifelong learning, you will never stop. And you're in it together. Now, what I'd like to do is see if anyone has questions for either you or Billy. So, Holly, I'm going to ask you to manage that, please. I don't know if we need to take the spotlight off or... Okay, so if anyone has questions for Billy or Jayne, we'll be taking them now.
I have one.
And I can... Go ahead.
Jayne, how did you support Billy, and did you ever question your own abilities? I know for myself, I'm always questioning my own abilities with my kids.
Definitely, yeah. And I was told from the school that, and it's actually written down on an email, it says that I don't have the capability to home educate. So I didn't have any support, and we did sort of recluse ourselves as well. First of all, because of what Billy had been through, we went through quite a traumatic time, and all the time, I didn't think it was going to work, but it came. And then when he started doing so well, so when he left, when he'd been at primary school, which was fine for him, had no problems there, his writing was very good, and his command of the English language was very good. In fact, he left highest achieving boy. And then his writing just became, you couldn't even read it, could you? And he couldn't read books or anything like that. It just went so far back. And as I say, I let him go slowly away. And then I saw that his writing was getting better within such a short period of time. I mean, he's left-handed. He's not the best writer in the world as it is. But it was coming back so he could read it properly. And then a friend said, she was a teaching assistant. She'd been a teaching assistant. She said, I've got a book for him to read if you like. And I said, oh yeah, give it to him and see if he'll read it. And he said, he came back after 2 nights and said, I've read it. And I said, oh, you can't have read it in that time. And he said, ask me some questions on it then. And I asked him, I went through the book, I hadn't read it, just asked him 10 questions. And he even knew the colour of the door on the shed. He enjoyed it and read it and digested it so much. So he sort of told me that I was doing the right thing, if you get what I mean. I didn't need anything, think it was just going so positively well that then I knew that everything was all right, and I didn't panic about it, and I didn't question my own ability because I could see the results were there. But it wasn't me, as I say, we were working together on it.
Yes. And Billy, what would your advice be? Because I've got a 12-year-old daughter who's trying to find her way. What would your advice be on finding their own path, your own path?
I don't know really. It was just it's just mainly finding an interest and focusing on that. And obviously, I don't know too much. Obviously, with Matilda and everything.
And thank you very much for my.
Oh, there we go. Yes, brilliant. It's, bad line, but yeah, no, it's sort of obviously it's like, to me it's easier to find what I'm interested in, which was simple like cars and joinery, but I don't know, it's mainly sort of doing something you enjoy, because you're not really going to learn when you're sort of not enjoying it.
For example, Matilda loves animals and she loves gardening and that. So when we go into the garden and she's wanting to do stuff like that, we talk in French. So I say to her, right, about trees and plants and hedgehogs and that, and she's got to speak to me, even just basic words, even if she just used the one word in French, that incorporates the French, the bit that she's not that interested in, into the bit that she's really interested in, just learns it. And he did it when she was younger, and that started back in his education in primary school. He wouldn't do maths in primary school. Instead of the teacher bullying him, because the primary school teacher was brilliant, she went and got books on diggers, because he loved diggers. So he counted diggers, and then he got an interest. And as I say, primary school, if the primary school attitude had carried on, I'd never home educated. Because there was I don't say there's anything wrong with the school system if you've got a good teacher. And primary school, he had a brilliant teacher, and she adapted things to suit him and worked with him, and that's why I did so well in primary school. So I think that's the only way that we can give advice from how we do it. Count diggers.
We've got time for another question.
Thank you, Michelle.
Does anyone else?
Holly,
would anyone else like to ask another question?
Holly, do you want to take the question from the Q&A?
They've almost all been answered.
Okay. I keep having to go. Okay, somebody said, how can I help my son gain confidence to have a go? He designs and makes, but has such a fear of getting it wrong.
I get it wrong all the time. So, yeah, just go for it. And you're only going to learn from getting it wrong, pretty much. Sort of, there's been countless times doing, I don't know, I've been orders that I've made for people and I've got wrong, and I've had to start from scratch again. Didn't get yours wrong, Michelle.
Tell him to look on his George Clark, where he had to do it in front of the whole country. And he tried to cut hardened glass and shattered it all over the place. So he's got it wrong in front of everybody. And he didn't bother about it.
One of the things, most of the best lessons in stuff like that for me is actually learning from it and going like, damn, sort of thing, and having to redo the work, because obviously you don't want to do stuff twice.
You learn by mistakes, don't you? Exactly. It's a good thing is to get things wrong, because you're going to learn. You're not going to do it again. If you don't go out and do it, if you only watch it, you never actually learn. If you're going to learn more, you obviously learn bits, but there's nothing like learning of actually doing it. So if you get it wrong, you go back.
So you're saying failure is the key to learning, right?
Yeah, I've always
it's one of the things, isn't it? You know, if you actually physically go out and do something, if you watch it, you're going to digest a certain amount, but if you actually physically go and do it, you're going to learn that skill more, aren't you?
Yeah, I probably get things wrong more than I do right.
It's always saying when I'm videoing this, don't video that bit, and that bit. You've got to put some on that you've done wrong. You just things wrong.
Yeah, I'll have to put some more
Everybody does stuff wrong. There's a lot of good on YouTube. You learn a lot of YouTube, don't you? And people put the mistakes on, even up to the level of Ed China and that. He smashed that really expensive dome thing for carpentry, and he kept it on his video thing. You know, the best people, Ed China's absolutely superb. He used to be on Wheeler Dealers, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Makes mistakes even at his level. Everybody makes them.
So somebody said, what advice would Billy give to home-educated children about following their own path of achievement? And I think you've covered a lot of this already, but is there anything else you think you haven't said?
Other than just sort of, pretty much focus on what you want to do. And that's...
You've got a lot of work life ahead of you, haven't you? So you want to be enjoying it.
basically, I try and take a lot of pride in all my work, and you're not going to take pride in something you don't really enjoy doing. So there's no point, you know, doing something that you don't enjoy, and you just sort of like doing, say, somebody. There's countless joiners that I've seen that I've, you know, think that's quite shocking sort of thing, because they haven't had pride, they don't enjoy it, they just want to go get home basically. So they rush for a job, and then somebody only has to come and cover up the job afterwards anyway. So you're basically in the wrong job if you're making it, you know, a mess like that.
That's a really good point. I think you make a really good point there.
Have pride in your work, and
yeah,
Get up every morning not knowing what day it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you get up in the morning, you don't know what day it is because you're enjoying your work that much. You don't get up on Sunday morning thinking Monday's the next day. You don't get to Thursday and think, I can't wait till the weekend. We haven't got a clue what day it is, do you? Just wake up, and because he's enjoying life and he's enjoying what he does, and I think that's it. If you can get up like that, you're happy.
I only know weekends because it's close to rallying. So.
You know, you've got a lot of life working, and you need to be happy in it, and that's why I think that if people have got an interest in something and they can earn a living out of it, just like he can with his carpentry, you know, that's the way he needs to go, and he doesn't need every single other subject to be an expert in it. He needs to be an expert in what he does, and that's what he is.
Yeah, one of the things that I often talk about is, I say, it's no use having a big fancy curriculum if there's no mastery. You know, you want to, if you're going to learn something, you may as well know it well, instead of have a mediocre pass in a subject you don't care for. One other question, Jayne, you might be able to help with this. Somebody has asked, do you have any guidance for when social services attempt to creep around the laws of home education, and they use the term, you know, they use fake safeguarding concerns to violate rights to home educate? If you can't answer that because you've had a good experience, I just want to say that there are other people at the conference that you could probably ask, like Fiona.
I know there's been a lot of horror stories about social services, but to us, they were fantastic. And if they hadn't been negative towards us, I don't know where we would have been, because we were so stressed at that point. But they didn't. If at one point she'd rung about a horrific thing, and they didn't even bother turning up because they knew it was all live. And for somebody in authority to ring social services and for not even to come is quite unheard of, but they got that many calls, they were just getting sick of it. And so we were lucky that they supported us. But I have a support worker with a home education from the council, and mine's been brilliant. So I don't know whether they can contact the council and say, they can always also, I don't know if there are under social service, but you can always ask for another social worker as well.
Do you think there's anything in your own demeanour or your own way of handling it that helped in that respect, that they treated you better maybe because of how you were handling it?
No, I think it's just potluck. You've got people that like to be in control, and you've got people that don't like to be in control. And it's like with anything, any profession, you've got your poor people and you've got your good people, and that's the same with social services, with anything. And you can have one, I mean, I was absolutely brilliant. I saw her actually, she left, I saw her in town, and she came up to me, she had children, and she left the career. And she said to me, she's so full of Billy all the time, it's absolutely wonderful, I love it. And she was just a genuinely nice person, even though she was social, she was a genuinely nice person that genuinely cared about the welfare of children and looked at every single angle. Some just go in and control, so I don't think, it doesn't matter how you treat them, does it? You know, if you treat them, it doesn't matter if you treat them badly, but if you treat them badly, the welfare of the child should be the priority. So it should be irrelevant how the parent speaks to them, as long as the welfare of the child. But a lot of them don't put the welfare of the child first, which they should do.
You're absolutely right.
It's horrific, and that's why you read stories about it, and it's something that's got to be changed. And if they are struggling, have they got a good MP? That's another way, you know, can they go to their MP? And that's that's top look.
Does anyone else have a question for Billy or Jayne? Okay, so it looks like, I think I also asked a lot of questions, so hopefully we covered everything. I do hope both of you will be around on the app and go and see the comments, Billy and Jayne, because people are, will want to chat to you, I'm fairly sure. Oh, somebody said, where did you get your hat, Billy?
I think it was at Asda Special, I think.
It was what?
Yeah, it's one of them things when I go to sort of meetings and like conferences and stuff like that, and I end up, because I get home and I just want to basically go straight into the workshop, so I always go in with good clean clothes on and wreck them within about 2 minutes. So I go straight away, first thing in the morning, usually before the conference, is go to Asda or somewhere and get a new set of clothes. So yeah, then basically go straight into the workshop once that's finished, and I've got a new set of work clothes. So that's pretty much it. Asda Special.
I have had to do that many times. Go to a meeting, or if he's been invited to do something, and take him on the way to the place to Asda and dress him because he's regular clothes. A lovely clothes there.
Right, I've got work clothes on, so I'm going to work.
Yeah. So, Billy, somebody has asked, do you see any of those bullies now, and how do you relate with them if you still see them? So those who bully you.
Sore subject, but they don't. To me, they're nowhere near as intimidating as I was, because I was always very small growing up. Before, I had sort of like a growth spurt. So basically now I'm pretty much bigger than them. So they sort of look on a different foot, which is, it's quite. Yeah, basically it just doesn't bother me. I think it will bother them more than it does me now, because I know, they're nothing to me.
Just going back to social services and that lady and saying about bad social workers and good social workers, we have the same with the police, and they weren't interested because Billy had actually got physical injuries, and we spoke to the police and they're absolutely not interested whatsoever. Anyway, when he went to college, he'd left school, he'd gone home education, and the bullying had stopped, and Billy was doing absolutely brilliantly, and he'd been at college for a year, and the bully came from the school to the college. And he came off the bus screaming and crying, I'm not going back to college. And I said, why not? And he said, so-and-so bully is there. I said, I'm not having this. So I was so incensed, I rang the police up, and I was on a border, and I got the other police, not the police that we had. I was on the border, and it went through, and they said, hello, Lancashire Police. So I said, and I explained, and he says, right, I'll be sorting it out. And I got one police officer, and he went round to the person's house, and he rang me back, he said, we weren't in, he went to the school, and he spoke to, went to the college, and he spoke to the person that had been bullied and moved there. And he rang me up and he said, it's all sorted. He said, I was bullied at school, this police officer, he says, and I'm not having it. And he saw this bully, did Billy, at the school, the next day, and I said, what did he do? He said, so he put his head down and thought, right, what police officer sorted it. So it was just one person in authority that changed it all, because if they hadn't got the right person then, the right police officer, which they weren't interested where we were from, it would have escalated again, and Billy probably wouldn't have been here again, because that bully moved with Billy. But because one person sorted it, it was
obviously had pride in his work.
He had pride in his work, and he was brilliant. So we always, like that police officer's brilliant, was absolutely brilliant. But we've got other police officers where we could tell you absolutely shocking horror stories. So it's who you get. That's it.
Yes, I think it is. It's that thing where somebody listens, and often children in school, they just need one person to listen and to hear them, and often that's left to the parent. So as parents, we kind of need to hear what our children are saying, don't we? Now, someone has said this has been brilliant, thanks a lot, and they remember seeing the news article about the boat a while ago. But this has been really, really wonderful. I would like to actually unmute everybody so we can give them a round of applause that they can hear. If you can unmute them, and then we can just give you a round of applause then. Thank you very much, Jayne and Billy. I've thoroughly enjoyed I will have to mute everybody again quickly. Some background noise. Okay, I was muted there. Now Jayne and Billy are also muted, if we can unmute them again. So Jayne and Billy, thank you ever so much just for being with us this morning. We've still got some background noise. I think Jayne and Billy, yeah, you can unmute yourselves as well. But thank you for being with us this morning. It's been really lovely. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think everyone listening has thoroughly enjoyed it. I really hope we'll see more of you on around the app, chatting to people. And I will be putting some of Billy's videos up. We're just still working on them and editing them.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It's been really good, and well done for getting it all off the ground with everything going on. You've just done amazing. I couldn't have done it. It's just absolutely brilliant. You're an absolute star.
I think we'll have to give you another
credit. Thank you for that. Okay, so the meeting is now ended, but please go and follow Billy on Instagram. You'll see all the things he's up to, even for your children, to show them and to encourage them. His story is a really lovely, encouraging one, and I just love, Jayne, the way you've mothered him and been the support for him that he's needed. I don't think one can underestimate the power of that ever. So thank you so much, and I'm going to ask Holly to end the meeting now, please.
Thank you so much. Bye.